Somebody that collects retro and vintage game paraphernalia. I don't know if I like the word paraphernalia. It makes me sound like I'm doing something nefarious. Consoles, accessories, and games, I can tell you 110% right out of the gate, off the jump, so to speak, that Super Mario 64 is not worth $1.5 million. However, that is what a VGA graded copy just sold for. I'm going to show you how much the game is actually worth, why it went for this astronomical price, scam, video game fraud, and why the company responsible, or the auction house, I should say, responsible for this sale has been accused of fraud in the past, and this probably won't be the last instance, because there are a couple of scammy McScammeisters, or a couple of Skid McMarks. Let's not get ripped off, guys. Alrighty, stallions and stallionettes, share my screen over here, and like many of my videos, this comes off the heels of a gaming article, a news article from Kotaku, one of the major outlets that I use as a reference point. This will be cited or sourced down there in the description below. Sealed Mario 64, record-breaking, also, fraud busting as well. $1.5 million sale has retro experts skeptical. Well, I would not consider myself an expert, but I am certainly skeptical, and I have two functioning brain cells, and I am able to pump enough neurons to see that there's some fuckery afoot here. Even if you've only been in the retro game for a couple of months, or say, for example, you just have what's called common sense. Common dollars or cents, you're going to be able to tell that pretty much no video game, especially a game as common as Mario 64, is worth $1.5 million. Super Mario 64 is not one of the rarest or oldest video games by any stretch, but that didn't stop it from reportedly selling for $1.5 million at auction over the weekend. So no, 11.91 million copies of the game were sold. If you're just trying to find a loose cartridge so you can play the game on your authentic hardware, your N64, you can pick them up on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist for about $21. Do be careful, guys, because there are a lot of reproduction cartridges or repro carts out there, which I am going to do a video in the very, very, very near future, probably sometime this week, taking apart N64, NES, SNES, Game Boy cartridges, etc., to show you guys what a reproduction or a forgery, a replica looks like, and what an authentic cartridge should look like on the actual chip, and also on the label, the cartridge itself, so you don't get ripped off. But $20. Basically, you can pick them up for $20. Now, if you find one at a thrift store, a garage sale, or, in a cardboard box behind an alley, you could probably get them even cheaper than that. Now, complete in box means it has the instruction manual, the original box, all the artwork that came with the game. About $100. New price, meaning sealed in its original cellophane, about $4,700. Graded, which is what the $1.5 million copy just sold for, that is worth around $5,000. Now, granted, this is based on the average VGA rating, and the copy that was sold was in incredibly good condition. It was a 9.8 or A++, which is quote unquote practically undamaged, is what the VGA calls it. So in my opinion, that would be worth around $10,000 to $15,000. The sale went down at Heritage Auctions July 11th, setting a new record for somebody getting ripped off and raped blindly. Highest selling single video game ever auction. To put that into perspective, the last person to get bent over and anally wrecked by getting ripped off was just a few days prior, because they're running a massive scam organization, which was the Legend of Zelda. What makes this particular copy of Super Mario 64 so special? Good question, stallions. Allow me to answer for you guys. The short answer is no. No one's not really sure. Well, I just figured the first $1 million game was imminent, but I didn't think it was going to be today or on this piece of shit common game. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to call Mario 64 a piece of shit game. It's actually one of my favorite retro games to this date. Is it worth 1.5 mil? No siree, Bob. Take a nibble on my corn on the cob. I actually picked up my cart for about $15. And then they come down here, and this is where the fuckery starts and certainly doesn't end. And I am going to poke so many holes. It's going to be, this article in this whole situation is going to be Swiss cheese when I'm done with it, because of all the holes I'm going to poke in it. So Mario 64 sold close to 12 million copies. We know that because we have the exact amount right here, 11.91. But the packaging was notoriously damage prone. No, it was certainly not. It was literally built to the same spec as any other N64 box. It's not like this particular box was made out of paper mache, or had some kind of self-destruct code or mechanism on board. As long as you take care of it, it's literally the same packaging as any other N64 box. We often receive factory case packs of N64 games where all 6 copies included but have not been circulated. That would be more valuable if that was VGA graded than just a single copy like this game here. What that is a bundle or a package of 4 to 6 games in its cellophane. So when you open up that cellophane, there's still 4 to 6 unopened boxes of games in there that literally were never put into circulation or sold in any public vendor or merchant. So Toys R Us or EB Games. So here's where it gets interesting, guys. A 9.4 A+ graded, so not a 9.5 A++, but still very similar. Very indistinguishable to the human eye. If you have the eyes of an eagle, you might be able to pick out, oh, well, the porous fibers on this box are slightly crisper on this version here. But sold for $38,000 at the same place, Heritage Auction, just 6 months back. And a 9.2 A-graded sold for $7,500 last year. These are more in the realm of reality. In other spaces, such as comics, coins, or sports cards, the difference between the second highest grade and the highest grade can be a 2x multiplier in value, and sometimes much more. That's not the case in retro games. Generally, the difference between a 9.4 and a 9.5 or an A+ and an A++ isn't a 2x difference from what I've seen. All that being said, the price is still shocking. Well, yeah, the guy that bought it got the shocker for sure. 1.5 million doesn't quite add up on the calculator and has led to some more nefarious speculation, ranging from money laundering, which was something that I immediately thought of, to collectors trying to inflate the market with targeted bids. Also something I considered. Another simpler explanation is that quite a few different collectors really wanted this particular copy of Mario 64 and were willing to empty their pockets and their nuts to get it. So maybe, you know, that's something to consider. Maybe this is the exact copy or box some gentleman had when he was a child, right? And now he's incredibly wealthy. His businesses took off, or he took out a fat life insurance on his wife and then offed her in the backyard or something. And, you know, he's got a lot of ducats in his pocket now. So he's able to lock in his childhood game, you know, bring him back to his childhood before he had type 2 diabetes and a limp dick. Still, even if you are incredibly wealthy, this game is still not worth $1.5 million. And now we get into something else. Heritage Auctions will claim 20% of the total purchase price of the sale of the game. The $250,000 that the auction house is gonna snag up just for being part of this blatant scam. I can assure you the winning bid was made by a collector who is not related to the auction house in any way, okay? It was cast by an individual independent dumbass, although the winning bidder does not wish to be identified at this time. That's because everyone and their mother is going to be asking him to get an MRI to get his skeletal structure of his frontal lobe, his cerebral cortex checked out to make sure that he's still processing information correctly. All right, so check it out. It's like this. Heritage Auction House has already been accused several times with a lot of valid proof backing up the claims that they're price manipulators. They're basically doing like pump and dumps more or less with video game items. Now, it's also kind of loosely rumored that they have kind of swept it under the rug by having a lot of these leaks around their nefarious activities basically eradicated from the internet. Probably greasing a lot of palms. And I'm not like a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but there's a ton of information. If you just Google Heritage Auction House and some of their history, you're going to find a ton of articles, granted the ones that have not been removed, explaining that they have done this in the past. Basically, what they're doing is price manipulation, just like Elon Musk does with cryptocurrency, particularly Doge and Bitcoin. They are setting an astronomically high price, and then they have fake bidders, basically, that either work for their company or are relatives of somebody that worked for the company, or just somebody that they hire off the street. Hey, we're going to need you to, you know, place a fake bid. Don't worry, we won't let you actually lock in the sale. We'll make sure somebody else actually outbids you. They have multiple layers of price manipulation. So they have fake auctionees that are, you know, bidding, you know, they're working for them, but they bid, pumping the price up. They set an astronomically high price. Their descriptions, which I'm about to share actually right here, we're a bit speechless on this one. Give it the justice it deserves. This is not an opportunity to waste. Let's go ahead and highlight that one for a minute here. What they're doing is creating FOMO, or fear of missing out. We see it a lot with pump and dumps when it comes to stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, REITs, any kind of traditional investment or digital currencies like cryptocurrencies. Also something else I dabble in. What they're doing is taking advantage of the fact that retro and vintage video games, consoles, accessories, and games are basically a tradable commodity as they are collector's items now. They are setting an astronomically high price, setting multiple layers of price manipulation by setting up fake auctionees that either work for their company or are relatives of somebody that work for the company, or just some hobo they pick up in a back alley, pull the needle out of his arm, tuck his Johnson back in his pants, clean him up a little bit, get the ketchup stains off his shirt, bring him in the office, and then be like, hey, I need you to place a couple of bids for 200K, then another one at 400K. And then basically it's creating fear of missing out. They pump up this game with a crazy description, you know, the most mint condition copy ever, which is not the case. I mean, there's an A+++, you know, Wagyu steak version out there that I'm sure has a better condition box and is still not worth 1.5 million. So they set a crazy description, set up multiple layers of price manipulation. This company has done it before, this auction house. And, you know, it's not like I'm just throwing slander on them or anything like that. If you Google it, you're going to find articles about their past, their history, their lineage, their heritage at Heritage Auction House when it comes to being a couple of scammy McScammeisters. So they're taking advantage of the high demand of these retro or vintage games, using a little bit of price manipulation, multiple layers, if you will, like I said, you know, starting with the description, very catchy, very eye-grabbing. Then they're going to set up a couple of fake bids. If they don't meet their set price, I guarantee you the actual winning bid was somebody that had their fingers in their pants, either in their pockets or on the schmeckle, giving them the Dutch rudder. And then that gets people thinking that future games listed at this auction house are going to be worth that much money. And then they create a trend or a pattern. It snowballs and it creates bigger sales for them. And basically it's just a huge scam. It's just a massive scam. So guys, here's what I'm going to leave you guys with. Whenever you are going to buy yourself a retro gaming console for either you're building a collection or you want to resell it to make a couple of bucks, or you're, you know, creating a collection, maybe it's something you owned as a child, whatever, come to this website right here, pricecharting.com. It will give you historical values of what they sold for in different conditions. It's a very valuable tool. I'm not sponsored by this website or anything like that. It's just something that I use personally that I think you stallions and stallionettes could definitely benefit from. And it's not just retro and vintage games. It's even like newer games too. So you want to make sure that, like, well, GameStop has it listed for this. The PSN has it listed for this. Target has it for this. Walmart has it here. You can kind of see, okay, well, this is what it's actually worth. So just a valuable little tool for you guys. And I'm all about polishing a nice tool for you guys. That is going to do it, guys. By the way, I can't even show you this entire side of the room from where the camera cuts off over because it is all torn up right now. The entire gamer heaven here, which, by the way, you know, what I have in the backdrop here is like half the room, if that. The whole gamer heaven is getting a full revamp, a full refresh. It's getting boosted into overdrive. Paul Walker, God rest him. It's about to be pretty sick. And by the way, if you are into retro gaming, not getting ripped off on retro games, but just retro gaming in general, in the shop right now, we have 3 Sega Genesises, or Genesi, I guess you could say. We have a PlayStation 1 that I got for free that is going to be refurbished or renovated back to its original condition on this channel. We have a very rare Xbox 360 Scuff Beast back there that we're going to be taking apart and refurbishing. And we're also going to be doing the ultimate N64 build, soldering on ceramic capacitors, HDMI, wireless controllers, a multi-cart, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Not to mention, I'm still going to be slathering you guys with your daily dose of gaming news. So if that kind of stuff does stimulate you in the gamer nether region, maybe touches your gamer rod until you're shooting the gamer goo, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be tomorrow, because I upload daily. Peace.